Hey, War of the Vision fans, this is Nashtaters, and welcome back to another episode of War of the Visions. So today, I would actually like to discuss Platinum Bow, because it's a slow week, as you guys know, so your only option is to farm the Platinum Bow. Now, here's the thing. You're probably wondering to yourself, who can use the Platinum Bow? What type of Platinum Bow is perhaps the best? And is it truly worth farming? Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're a fan of archers, this may be the bow for you. So before we begin this episode of War of the Visions, let's go ahead and do some house cleaning. Yesterday, I talked about the token system, and it's a pretty good system because we were given 50 free tokens to kind of place it wherever we want to. I actually attempted to do it on my free-to-play account, and I noticed a couple of things. One, when you're placing it, the number actually increased in terms of requirements. So ideally, you will not be able to spend all 50 across the different boards or maxing anything out in particular to the max. So essentially what you need to do is pick out of the 5 categories what you value the most. Personally, I think the ones that need the most boost will be espers, because they just simply don't give you enough experience for those little rocks. And if you're going to be using the XL ones, you should probably get the best bang for your buck in terms of maximizing your espers as quickly as possible. Another option could be, if you really wanted to save on some eggs, would be doing the vision cards. But the sell price item may be your other option in terms of if you want to sell a lot and lots of turtles. Either way, another thing I also noticed, and also pointed out by a viewer, is the fact that when you go into the actual token system earned, it says the expiration date is the 28th, but these tokens are actually for March, so you will not be able to add it to the ones that were given for free. Something to keep in mind, because you cannot go back and change anything once you place the tokens in place. Okay, let's talk about the Platinum Bow. Now, the first thing people are probably going to think about is, I need to go through all my units and see which units can actually use this bow. So before we talk about the stats, what it's supposed to be doing for your account, let's go ahead and look up what units we should be considering using this bow. So as you can see, I broke it down for you. Here are the 6 units in the game currently that I own that can use bows as their main jobs. And here's the thing, right? Some of these units are not going to be UR quality, so some of you guys out there who are not huge fans of lower rarity units or non-UR units, you maybe not even going to be thinking about those. But we're going to start breaking them down just a tiny bit of what I think some of the best fits for these users could be. Obviously, let's go ahead and start with Rosa. Now, Rosa essentially is a healer in this game. Her damage isn't very high, and she more or less is a magic user, and therefore, taking advantage of the Platinum Bow probably is going to be her forte. So we can safely say she could be the unit that is actually removed from this equation. Next, take a look at Fina. Fina, again, is a supporting unit who essentially has a lot of heals, and actually you want her to be doing some buffs perhaps. She essentially is probably not going to be the best unit in terms of utilizing this bow either, simply because her attack power is fairly low. Even though, as you can see here, attack is only 63, that's because I haven't really been working on her. But her best power is probably somewhere in the 200 or 300s, not very high and not anything to write home about. Now let's take a look at some SR units. Uni is actually, I think, not a too bad unit, but again, most people don't even look at her, myself included. And I think one of the problems with these lower rarity units is the fact that they simply don't pack a lot of power. While you may want to build her perhaps in the future when Job 25EX comes along, right now she isn't somebody that perhaps you should really consider building. Now, my understanding is Liard could be one of those units that could really take it to the next level when you look at her in terms of level 120. So there's a possibility that I might go back and look at some of these other lower rarity units in the future when the 1-year anniversary is finally over. Now, the last unit I want to talk about is Curry, and he's essentially the king of one of the kingdoms, and I believe he could use this bow, but I only encountered him a couple of times in arena, and he has not impressed me. And so far, when I look up different websites of whether or not he should be ranked high enough in terms of damage, he just doesn't fit the T here. And personally, I don't think he's worthy of a unit in consideration now. Again, when EX25 comes around, he may be a possible consideration. Now, I know I did say last, but actually I lied. This is not last. Niv by far is the last, and essentially I think she's going to be the best unit to best utilize the Platinum Bow because 1, she has a better attack power than the others. 2, she's very fast, so when she's taking multiple turns, you want to take advantage of that, doing large amounts of damage perhaps. So my personal recommendation will be Nivlu. Now I know what you guys are doing. You're in the comment section right now and you're probably typing in, oh no, Nashtaters, you forgot someone. You forgot Lorelei. Yes, here she is, Lorelei. No, I did not forget her. I wanted to do this to surprise you that, hey, listen, I may be getting old, but I'm not getting dumb and I'm not forgetful. So of course I didn't forget about Lorelei. How can I? She's part of the Gilmore Girls. You know what? If I was a father today and I had girls for my children, I would definitely be sitting down and watching Gilmore Girls with them because that's what I will be doing as a responsible father. So here we are, we're on Ultimate.jp and we're going to take a look at which stats are being given to Platinum Bow. As you can see here, the Platinum Bow at max will give you defense penetration of 20. That is very good for an assault weapon. And assault weapons are generally speaking like physical damage weapons. And if you're getting a magical weapon, it will say magical defense penetration. So this weapon obviously is definitely more fit for physical attackers. And of course, when I say assault weapon, I usually mean just physical weapon. But in this case, the assault subtype is actually highly recommended. You get 188 attack and you get only 4 crit. But remember, we're not really looking for crit when we're looking for assault because we want to increase the physical attack power. Therefore, we can do a little bit more damage because of the fact that we have defense penetration. Now, one might actually consider doing the critical type because you do get a good amount of critical here. And of course, you have a decent, reasonable base of attack of 150. You get also 5 accuracy, which is not too bad. Now, Vital is by far probably the worst. You should never really consider Vital when it comes to certain weapons because, well, as you can see, 72 is not something to write about, right? Again, the reason I think this critical bow might work is because of the fact that if I'm recommending Nivlu, it's possible that you may actually want reasonable critical rate. But if you're really thinking about going the critical rate, why not just go back and use the killer bow and use the critical rate version of that? And the thing is, no matter what you actually choose, it's all about just number crunching. Maybe you're facing against enemy squishy units like healers. Having assault or critical may work in your favor either way. But one thing I learned is critical always give you extra AP gain. So it's a possibility you may actually go with the killer bow with the critical build just to attack tanks because you're not ultimately doing a whole lot of damage against them anyways. And hitting them over and over due to her high agility may give you more AP gains. Therefore, you can do more debuffs. And that's ultimately what perhaps you'll be using Niv and perhaps other physical attackers if they have debuff abilities in terms of against enemy tanks. Okay, now that we have broken it down on who could be using this item, what subtype perhaps is the best and perhaps is it better than the killer bow? Remember, you can always supplement more physical attack power and more crit through your accessories and your armor and perhaps your vision cards and your espers. So now that we talked about all of that, let's do a final thought of, is this bow truly worth farming? I feel like this bow is truly worth the farm because we simply do not have too many bows for physical attackers. The killer bow didn't have a very high attack, but it did have very high critical. And I think that's perhaps something we want to farm the Platinum Bow for. We want to go for the assault version and we want to do a lot of damage without having to rely on perhaps critical hits. Because as I mentioned before, you can supplement by using critical from different areas of the game rather than purely from the weapon. I think if you have Niv and if you have perhaps some of the lower rarity units, in the future after EX drop 25, we may take a look at those other units because they're probably going to be easier to build in terms of the materials. It's a possibility that a lot of folks might be raising those units up. And I think it's fine to actually farm the Platinum Bow. And in fact, you may actually want to farm 2 or 3 copies simply because, well, essentially you don't have a whole lot to do this week. And on top of it, investing for the future is always a great idea, even though this event will most likely come back in the future. So I think that's all the time for this video. I hope you enjoyed this type of stuff because I don't really mind doing these type of videos because ultimately at the end of the day, I'm just giving you my opinion on something by doing some research, looking up different websites. So essentially, it's me regurgitating all this knowledge that I've obtained along the way and giving you my final touch on that opinion. Whether you like it or not, that's up to you, right? And again, as a content creator, it's my duty to kind of just give you an opinion, but make sure that it's backed up by some sort of information. So until next time, take care of yourself and all your loved ones, Nashtaters and his family out here. Have a great day.